I guess they needed change. Brennan Armstrong to the bench, MJ Morris taking over. I guess they needed change. But I want to emphasize, and it's important to recognize, that MJ Morris is stepping into a situation that isn't ideal for the quarterback. It's not you change your quarterback and everything is solved. It is not that. Now, he has the opportunity to do some things better than how Brennan Armstrong was doing them. Yes. But the degree of difficulty is high. Here's Dave Doeren, the head coach of the NC State Wolfpack, on the change to MJ Morris.
It's clear that we need a spark on that side of the ball, and MJ Morris is going to take over as our starting quarterback, and he is ready to lead the offense. As I stated in the past when I was asked, it was my plan and our plan to redshirt MJ and allow him an opportunity to develop behind Brennan. But plans sometimes need to change, and the time is now because it's what's best for our team.
It's a shame that this is what they had to do to get a spark. Because I get it, right? Later on today, we're going to air a conversation between myself and Mike Glennon, the former quarterback for NC State. You can find it everywhere. Pack Therapy, it's a podcast. Find it everywhere you find your podcasts. But one phrase he uses is, I understand it, but I don't necessarily agree with it. Like, I understand why a change is necessary. You can't look at that defense and say, keep doing what you're doing. Maybe we'll figure it out over here. Maybe we won't. Like, you need to show them that you're trying. You can't just have Brennan Armstrong continue to build or deteriorate his fundamentals based on the situation. Right? We've seen many times at the beginning of the day, he might be making his way through progressions. By the end of the day, it's one guy and run. Like, you can't do that. However, most of the time, usually, when a team needs a spark, they don't have to do something this drastic. They can draw up a couple big plays. They can draw up a trick play. They can do interesting things. They can give a kick returner type guy a chance to get in space. It's about the play calling to me. Do you know what the very first play of the game was for the NC State offense this past weekend? A designed run by Brennan Armstrong for 4 yards. This was not him scrambling. This was not him dropping back, not liking what he saw in running. It was a designed run for what I consider a pocket passer. He's faster than you give him credit for, but when he's at his best, he's distributing the football. 10 carries for Brennan Armstrong in the first half alone. How unreal is it to bring in a pocket passer, ask him to be the leading rusher on a Power 5 football team, and then when the offense isn't cranking, chant for his backup, which is what happened. Oh, by the way, the most experienced running back on the group did leave the team after 3 games. Second drive. Let's look at this play calling a little bit further. Second drive of the game. They get great field position. Why? Because Louisville ran a fake punt and it worked, but it was called back for a penalty. And then the punter, who obviously was shaken because he was out there, he wasn't out there, he's out there, he had penalties, shanks the punt. You take over at your own 45-yard line. You get a little bit of momentum, right? That kind of, you know the adrenaline you get when you feel like you dodged a near-death experience? Right? I'm talking like a roller coaster type high. You kind of had that, right? Because they pulled off the fake punt, but it got reversed due to the penalty. You take over momentum, and I'm going, ooh, I'd like to see a shot here. I'd like to see something deep. What did they do? They did take a shot. Well, what shot was it? Fake wide receiver screen, Concepcion releases up forward. It was the same thing they did the week before when I was praising them for their play calling. I need creativity, not last week's creativity. Those type of plays don't work over and over and over again. The windows get smaller and smaller and smaller because you put it on film. Now, Brennan Armstrong deserves his part of the blame pie, but the play calling, that's not on him. The leaning on the quarterback so much as a rusher, that's not on him. The fact that he's had any success with it, you could say, is on him. But the actual dependence upon that part of the game is not his thing. And by the way, MJ Morris, it's not like you're bringing in Anthony Richardson. He's not a guy that when he's playing his best is running all over the place. At least not that we've seen. It's not just Brennan Armstrong, and Dave Doeren knows that. Here he is talking about everyone needs to play better.
But let me make this clear, changing the quarterback, everyone has to be better. This isn't throwing Brennan under the bus and pinning it on him. It's the opposite, It starts with me, and I own that. Everyone has to be what changes. The chemistry is about everyone, and playing well around the quarterback.
Playing well around the quarterback. Well, guess what? MJ Morris, your job's not easy. You're coming into a team that's not protecting well. There's not a ton of dynamic ability, or at least we haven't seen a ton of dynamic ability from the wide receivers to get open consistently. We haven't seen creative play calling. What we have seen is an incredible defense that's put up very impressive performances against some pretty solid offensive teams, and they're going to expect more production from your side of the ball. It's very obvious that when a situation like this takes place, the quarterback's the easiest to change, right? You can't change all 5 guys of the offensive line. You can't change the offensive coordinator, at least not, and still expect to have any success this year because you're changing verbiage, you're changing playbooks, you're changing a whole bunch of different stuff. The quarterback is the easiest. It's the most convenient. But what that also means is those other things might be equally in need of a change as anything. You have to make up those deficiencies. MJ Morris, maybe he does get rid of the ball quicker. He's going to have to. MJ Morris, maybe he develops some kind of chemistry with players that Brennan Armstrong didn't have. I don't know, but these are the points in the margins. These are the small details that might benefit him in the long run. Not to mention this. Brennan Armstrong was the coveted prospect. NC State had to work hard to bring him in. They could have just stuck with MJ Morris. MJ Morris finished out the season last year with some impressive performances. Now, not perfect, but hey, he showed the signs that everybody's excited for now, and you spent a lot of energy to go replace him.
Yeah, up until the knee injury, and then before you know it was Ben Finley and a cast of other people.
Keep mixing it all up there. But, I mean, he had 2 separate games with 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Like, he had some impressive performances.
Looked good against Wake.
You could have just rolled with MJ Morris. You worked very, very hard. Brennan Armstrong was not a easy recruit, meaning there's a lot of other teams that wanted him. You worked hard to bring in Brennan Armstrong, and this feels at least in part as if you're saying, yeesh, we messed that one up, didn't we? Because you're burning MJ Morris's red shirt. Wouldn't you rather have burnt it 4 games ago than now? You're burning MJ Morris's red shirt after protecting it against VMI. You weren't planning on doing this anytime soon during VMI, or else you would have played him in that mop-up duty. There's a lot of optimism about this turn, and I get it. There were people that just needed change. I understand. I think there's a lot more questions moving forward than anything else.